and Kim Kardashian's global brand suddenly dragged into a storm of questions that refuses to stay clean. Coincidence, or something far more complicated hiding inside the machinery of international trade? Because what looks like a simple drug trafficking arrest on paper is now being pulled apart online like a thread that might unravel far more than just one truck driver's story. The case begins in the UK, where a Polish truck driver named Jakub Jan Kancel is now sitting behind bars after being sentenced to 13.5 years in prison. He was caught transporting what appeared to be a routine shipment of SKIMS clothing, the billion-dollar shapewear empire owned by Kim Kardashian. But inside that shipment, hidden with surgical precision in modified trailer doors, investigators found 91 kilograms of cocaine, worth around $9.4 million. On the surface, SKIMS immediately distanced itself, issuing statements that they had zero knowledge of any criminal activity, and authorities confirmed the exporter and importer were not under investigation. Officially, the case was closed. One driver, one shipment, one criminal network operating independently. But the way the discovery unfolded is where the unease begins to creep in. The truck had crossed from the Netherlands into the UK and was stopped at the port of Harwich in Essex on September 5, 2025, after Border Force officers noticed something unusual and ran it through an X-ray scanner. What they saw wasn't just suspicious, it was engineered. Hidden compartments built into the trailer doors themselves, not random concealment, design-level smuggling infrastructure. Then comes the detail that refuses to disappear from the conversation: a 16-minute unexplained stop logged in the truck's GPS tachograph before reaching the port. Investigators believe that window may have been when the drugs were loaded, and that's where the questions begin to multiply. Because if that stop is real, it suggests coordination, timing, and access that goes beyond a single rogue driver. Yet the driver, Kancel, eventually pleaded guilty, claiming he was paid just $4,900 by an organized crime group and acted alone in execution. The National Crime Agency confirmed the shipment itself was legitimate SKIMS cargo, reinforcing the official position that the brand was not involved. Still, online reactions erupted instantly. Because SKIMS is not a small operation, it moves massive global freight shipments across borders constantly, through multiple customs systems, multiple countries, and multiple layers of inspection. And that leads people to ask a question investigators don't officially entertain: how many similar shipments pass without ever being opened? And how would anyone know if this was truly the first time something like this happened, or just the first time it was caught? Kancel first denied knowing anything about the drugs, then changed his plea to guilty, telling authorities he had been recruited by an organized crime group and paid a fraction of the drug's value to move the cargo. SKIMS, in response, reiterated they had no involvement and no knowledge of any criminal activity tied to the shipment, while officials publicly supported the conclusion that neither the company nor its partners were implicated. Yet despite the official closure of the case, the narrative outside court doesn't settle. Because this isn't just about a single intercepted truck anymore, it's about what that truck represents. A global supply chain, a brand operating at massive scale, and a system where visibility is limited the moment goods leave a warehouse. And once that idea enters the conversation, the story stops being just about one driver and starts shifting into something larger, something messier, something people online are not ready to let go of. And that's exactly where the deeper, more controversial layers of this entire story begin to surface, stretching far beyond the borders of a single UK port and into the tangled history surrounding names, money, and connections that some insist are unrelated and others believe are anything but. Because once you start pulling at the earlier threads, the story stops being isolated incidents and starts looking like a long chain of moments people argue are unrelated, but refuse to fully disappear. Years before SKIMS became a global fashion empire, before billion-dollar valuations and international shipping lanes, there was another story already circling the Kardashian name, one that resurfaced again and again whenever questions of money and trust came up. It goes back to Kim Kardashian's early years working as a stylist and organizer in celebrity circles, including her connection to Brandy Norwood and her family. According to court records and later declarations, Brandy's mother, Sonia Norwood, accused Kim of unauthorized credit card usage between 2006 and 2007, claiming that charges tied to her accounts eventually grew from an initial figure, reported around $120,000, into allegations, later described in legal filings as closer to $850,000. The claim itself was always disputed, always denied, always settled out of court. But what keeps it alive in public conversation is not just the allegation, it's the way it reappears through different voices over time. Ray J, Brandy's brother, has publicly referenced the fallout, and in 2025, Sonia Norwood submitted a legal declaration supporting his version of events, reigniting a controversy that many assumed was long buried. The Kardashian side has consistently called the claims meritless, stating that Kim and Khloe were authorized employees, and legally the case never resulted in criminal charges. But in the world of public perception, legal closure does not always equal narrative closure, and that gap is where speculation thrives. Then, the story jumps forward into something even more explosive in tone: the global financial scandal surrounding Malaysian businessman Jho Low, linked to the massive 1MDB embezzlement case. In FBI-related documentation and reporting widely circulated in investigative summaries, Kim Kardashian's name appears in connection with meetings and casino events involving Low in Las Vegas around 2009. The details, as described, are surreal casino nights lasting until sunrise, celebrity-filled private rooms, and at the center of it, allegations that Kim received hundreds of thousands of dollars in chips later exchanged for cash, including reports of money delivered in trash bags containing large sums of currency. One account describes $250,000 handed over in such a manner, along with additional payments across different visits. Later, U.S. authorities investigating the 1MDB scandal confirmed Kim was questioned by the FBI in 2019 regarding her interactions with Low. She was not charged, not accused of wrongdoing, and stated she had limited interactions, but the association alone became part of the wider narrative surrounding how illicit money allegedly moved through elite social circles. And from there, the conversation expands again, because critics point not only to isolated incidents, but to patterns of proximity names, events, and financial ecosystems that repeatedly overlap in unexpected ways. At the same time, another layer of controversy has long surrounded Kris Jenner's business and financial structures, including her co-founding of a church organization that some critics claim functions more like a tax-exempt financial network than a traditional religious institution. These claims remain unproven allegations, but they circulate widely in online discussions, often tied to broader accusations about financial strategy, branding, and wealth management within the family ecosystem. Added to that are references to business manager Lou Taylor, who has been linked in public reporting and controversy to Britney Spears' conservatorship financial arrangements, with speculation never legally proven about overlapping professional networks involving high-profile celebrity finances. Each connection on its own is explained away, disputed, or legally unresolved, but together they form a web that internet commentators repeatedly revisit whenever a new controversy emerges. And then comes Kanye West, whose public accusations have added fuel rather than clarity. He has repeatedly made statements on social media comparing the Kardashian family to powerful criminal networks, including explicit references to Jeffrey Epstein in controversial posts that sparked global backlash. Despite the severity of those claims, the family has largely avoided engaging in direct legal confrontation with him, a silence that fans and critics interpret in conflicting ways, some seeing it as legal strategy, others as avoidance of discovery under oath. Around the same time, the family did pursue legal action against Ray J for claims involving federal investigation allegations, intensifying questions about why some statements trigger lawsuits while others are ignored. Even comedian Katt added to the cultural conversation in interviews where he hinted at recurring patterns in relationships around Kim Kardashian, suggesting that people close to her often experience instability afterward, though he never directly accused anyone of wrongdoing. And so, when all of this is placed alongside the SKIMS cocaine shipment case, the internet doesn't see a single isolated incident anymore. It sees a timeline of moments, legal disputes, financial controversies, celebrity encounters, silence in some places and aggressive responses in others, and begins asking whether these are disconnected fragments or pieces of a story that only looks separate because no one has ever officially connected it in one place. And the unanswered question now hanging over everything is not just about one truck in the UK, or one court case, or one accusation, but whether the pattern people believe they're seeing is real, or just the way chaos looks when viewed through fame, money, and the internet's need to find meaning in it.